2. Imagine walking into an elegant ballroom in the 1960s, where women are expected to glide in flowing gowns and delicate silhouettes. And suddenly, one woman appears, wearing a sharply tailored black tuxedo, crisp white shirt, and satin lapels, an outfit that commands attention, confidence, and authority. This striking image captures the radical impact of Yves Saint Laurent's tuxedo for women, famously known as LA's smoking, a design that did far more than introduce a new style. It challenged deeply rooted social and fashion conventions, at a time when femininity was narrowly defined by dresses, skirts, and decorative softness. Saint Laurent dared to reinterpret a symbol of male power and formal elegance for the female body. Introduced in 1966, La smoking blurred the boundaries between masculine and feminine clothing, provoking controversy, admiration, and debate in equal measure. Yves Saint Laurent, already known for pushing creative boundaries, used the tuxedo to make a bold statement about freedom, identity, and self-expression, suggesting that elegance was not tied to gender, but to confidence and individuality. Through this revolutionary design, he transformed fashion into a form of quiet rebellion, empowering women to dress not for societal approval, but for themselves, ultimately redefining modern femininity and proving that clothing can be a powerful tool for social change. Before Yves Saint Laurent introduced the tuxedo for women, fashion was governed by rigid gender expectations that dictated how men and women should dress. In the early to mid-20th century, women's fashion emphasized softness, delicacy, and ornamentation, reinforcing traditional ideas of femininity. Dresses, skirts, corseted waists, and flowing fabrics were seen as essential to a woman's appearance, while trousers were largely reserved for men and associated with authority, professionalism, and power. Although some women wore pants for practical reasons during wartime or labor, such choices were often viewed as temporary or inappropriate in formal and social settings. Flow clothing functioned as a visual code that reinforced societal roles, clearly separating masculine strength from feminine grace. Fashion institutions, social etiquette, and even laws in some countries discouraged women from wearing pants in public spaces. This rigid structure limited women's self-expression and reinforced the idea that power and elegance belonged primarily to men. By the 1960s, however, social change was underway. Women were entering the workforce in greater numbers, questioning traditional roles and demanding equality in various aspects of life. Despite this progress, fashion lagged behind social movements, still clinging to outdated ideals. It was within this restrictive environment that Yves Saint Laurent would introduce a design that directly challenged these conventions. By reimagining a male garment for women, he confronted not only fashion norms, but also the deeper cultural assumptions embedded within clothing. Understanding this context highlights just how revolutionary La smoking truly was. Yves Saint Laurent's approach to fashion was rooted in his belief that clothing should reflect the realities of modern life rather than idealized traditions. Unlike many designers of his time who focused solely on beauty and luxury, Saint Laurent saw fashion as a form of dialogue between society and the individual. He was deeply influenced by art, politics, and cultural shifts, and he believed designers had a responsibility to respond to these changes. Saint Laurent often stated that he wanted to give women confidence, freedom, and control through clothing. This philosophy directly informed his decision to design La smoking in 1966. Rather than creating garments that emphasized passivity or decoration, he sought to empower women by borrowing symbols traditionally associated with male authority. The tuxedo, long considered the pinnacle of masculine elegance, became his chosen instrument of transformation. Saint Laurent did not simply copy men's tailoring. He carefully reshaped the tuxedo to fit the female body, preserving its sharp lines while enhancing its sensuality. His vision challenged the idea that femininity required softness and submission. He proposed a new model of elegance, one based on strength, confidence, and self-possession. Saint Laurent understood that clothing could influence how women felt and how they were perceived. Through less smoking, he offered women a way to claim space in environments traditionally dominated by men. His creative philosophy blurred boundaries between masculine and feminine, making fashion a tool for redefining identity. This vision placed Yves Saint Laurent among the most influential designers of the 20th century. The design of LA smoking was both radical and refined, combining traditional tailoring with innovative adaptation for the female form. At first glance, the tuxedo appeared strikingly masculine, featuring structured shoulders, satin lapels, straight trousers, and a crisp white shirt. However, closer examination revealed subtle design choices that distinguished it as a women's garment. Saint Laurent tailored the jacket to accentuate the waist and hips, creating a silhouette that balanced strength with elegance. The trousers were slim and elongated, enhancing the wearer's posture and presence. Unlike the heavily decorated evening gowns of the era, less smoking relied on clean lines and minimal embellishment, allowing the structure itself to communicate power. The monochromatic color palette, often black and white, emphasized sophistication and timelessness. Accessories such as silk blouses, heels, or jewelry softened the look without diminishing its authority. This careful balance between masculinity and femininity was central to the tuxedo's impact. The tuxedo allowed women to adopt a traditionally male aesthetic while retaining their individuality. Its design communicated confidence without aggression, sensuality without exposure. By stripping away unnecessary ornamentation, Saint Laurent allowed women's presence and attitude to define the outfit. Last smoking demonstrated that fashion innovation does not require excess, but rather thoughtful reimagining. Its design remains influential because it transcends trends and speaks to enduring ideas of elegance and empowerment. The introduction of LA smoking sparked immediate controversy and debate. In the conservative social climate of the 1960s, many viewed the idea of women wearing tuxedos as inappropriate, shocking, or even immoral. Some restaurants, clubs, and public institutions refused entry to women dressed in pants, regardless of the designer or occasion. These reactions revealed how deeply clothing was tied to social control and gender expectations. Critics accused Saint Laurent of undermining femininity and promoting masculinity in women, while supporters praised him for his boldness and originality. The controversy only amplified the tuxedo's significance, turning it into a symbol of resistance and individuality. Women who chose to wear LA smoking were making a statement, whether intentional or not. They challenged authorities simply by their appearance, asserting their right to dress as they pleased. The backlash also highlighted fashion's power to provoke social reflection. Clothing was no longer just decorative, but political. Saint Laurent himself defended the design, insisting that women had the right to wear whatever made them feel strong and confident. Over time, the initial shock gave way to admiration as influential women embraced the look. The controversy surrounding LA smoking ultimately reinforced its revolutionary status, to expose the arbitrary nature of fashion rules and encouraged broader discussions about gender equality. By surviving and thriving despite criticism, the tuxedo proved that meaningful change often begins with discomfort. Last smoking quickly evolved into a powerful symbol of feminine authority and independence. Unlike traditional women's evening wear, which often emphasized fragility or allure, the tuxedo projected confidence, control, and self-worth. Women who wore it were no longer decorative figures, but commanding presences. The structured silhouette suggested discipline and authority, qualities historically denied to women. At the same time, the tuxedo allowed for personal interpretation, enabling wearers to express their identity through styling choices. This flexibility made it appealing to women across professions, From artists and performers to executives and socialites, last smoking challenged the notion that power dressing required an imitation of men. Instead, it redefined power on women's terms. The tuxedo did not strip away femininity, but expanded its definition. It suggested that elegance could be assertive and that beauty could coexist with strength. This symbolism resonated deeply during a time of growing feminist movements. Clothing became a visual expression of women's demand for equality and autonomy. Saint Laurent's design allowed women to occupy spaces traditionally reserved for men without apology. Over time, le smoking became more than a garment. It became an attitude. Its enduring appeal lies in its ability to communicate confidence without words. The tuxedo continues to symbolize the idea that women do not need to conform to expectations to be powerful. They only need to be themselves. The impact of LA smoking was amplified through its adoption by influential women in popular culture. Celebrities such as Bianca Jagger, Catherine Deneuve, and later generations of actresses and musicians embraced the tuxedo as a statement of individuality and sophistication. Bianca Jagger famously wore last smoking to formal events, including her wedding celebrations, challenging traditional bridal fashion. Slee's high-profile appearances brought the tuxedo into the public eye, transforming it from a controversial design into a symbol of modern elegance. Photographs of women wearing LA smoking circulated widely, reinforcing its association with confidence and rebellion. The tuxedo also appeared in films, editorials, and advertising campaigns, further embedding it in cultural memory. Helmut Newton's iconic photography played a crucial role in cementing its legacy, portraying women in tuxedos as powerful, mysterious, and commanding. These images challenged the male gaze by presenting women as subjects rather than objects. The influence of LA smoking extended beyond fashion into broader cultural conversations about gender and identity. It inspired designers, stylists, and artists to experiment with androgyny and gender-neutral aesthetics, too. By becoming part of popular culture, last smoking ensured that its message reached a wide audience. Its presence on red carpets and magazine covers continues to inspire new generations to embrace bold self-expression. The long-term impact of Yves Saint Laurent's tuxedo for women is evident in contemporary fashion. Today, tailored suits for women are a staple in both high fashion and everyday wardrobes. Designers across generations have reinterpreted LA smoking, adapting it to changing tastes while preserving its core message. The tuxedo paved the way for greater acceptance of gender-fluid fashion, encouraging designers to question traditional boundaries. It also influenced workplace attire, contributing to the normalization of women wearing suits in professional environments. Beyond specific garments, last smoking shifted the philosophy of fashion design. It demonstrated that innovation could arise from rethinking existing forms rather than creating entirely new ones. Saint Laurent's approach inspired designers to view clothing as a means of empowerment rather than mere decoration. The tuxedo's enduring relevance proves that meaningful design transcends trends. It remains a reference point in discussions about gender, power, and style. Fashion schools and historians continue to study LA smoking as a milestone in design history. Its influence can be seen in minimalist aesthetics, sharp tailoring, and the continued blending of masculine and feminine elements. By challenging conventions, Saint Laurent expanded the possibilities of fashion. The tuxedo's legacy serves as a reminder that clothing can shape cultural attitudes and redefine identity. Its impact continues to resonate in a world that increasingly values inclusivity and self-expression. In the modern era, last smoking remains a powerful and relevant symbol of style and empowerment. Contemporary designers frequently revisit the tuxedo, updating it with new fabrics, colors, and proportions, while maintaining its essence. Women today wear tuxedos not only for formal occasions, but also as expressions of personal style and confidence. The garment has become a symbol of choice rather than rebellion. reflecting how far society has progressed since its introduction. Yyves. However, its continued presence also serves as a reminder of the struggles that paved the way for such freedom. In a fashion landscape increasingly focused on diversity and gender inclusivity, last smoking feels more relevant than ever. It aligns with modern conversations about identity, self-expression, and the rejection of restrictive norms. The tuxedo's adaptability allows it to resonate with different cultures and generations. Whether worn on a runway, red carpet, or street, it carries the legacy of Yves Saint Laurent's vision. Last smoking proves that true innovation is timeless. Its ability to evolve while retaining its symbolic power speaks to its brilliance. In the modern world, the tuxedo stands not just as a garment but as a statement, a reminder that fashion can challenge conventions, empower individuals, and reflect the changing values of society. Yves Saint Laurent's last smoking stands as one of the most powerful examples of how fashion can challenge social norms and reshape cultural attitudes. What began as a controversial design evolved into a timeless symbol of confidence, independence, and modern femininity. By transforming the traditionally male tuxedo into an elegant garment for women, Saint Laurent questioned rigid ideas about gender, authority, and beauty, proving that strength and elegance are not defined by clothing rules, but by the person who wears them. Last smoking did more than alter silhouettes on the runway. It changed how women perceived themselves and how society perceived women in positions of power. Its lasting influence can be seen in contemporary fashion, professional attire, and the continued blending of masculine and feminine styles. Even decades after its introduction, the tuxedo remains relevant, reminding us that true style is rooted in self-expression and courage. Yves Saint Laurent's revolutionary vision demonstrates that fashion is not merely about appearance, but about identity, freedom, and the ongoing pursuit of equality.